Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining this talk. I'm happy to introduce the non-mobile track here. My name is Jad, and I'm going to be talking today about the abundant state of the web, a bit of an overview talk about what has happened, what state we're in, what can you expect in the future. And of course, this is not working. I think the battery's out. No. Yeah, very low battery. Oh, yeah. For work, I'm self-employed, so I'm not affiliated with any company. I do have the GDE thing from Google. I run my own learning platform, learnjavascript.online. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And I also teach at some universities, the Hogeschool van Amsterdam in Amsterdam and the Fachhochschule in Salzburg. And for fun, because I'm self-employed, I think you're going to get a bit of solopreneurship twist on this talk, how if you ever want to be an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, how you can use the web to really build something cool. This is not an entrepreneurship talk, it's just a slight twist on top of it. And for fun, I absolutely love snowboarding, and I expect many of you to be able to know this mountain. Does anyone know the mountain? You might know it from the other side, yeah? Cervino, yeah. This is the side of the Matterhorn. So this was in Switzerland. We were actually staying in Breu Cervinia. That's 2 hours away from Torino. And then you can actually ski from Italy to Switzerland, take a picture there, and then rush really before you miss the last lift to go back to Italy. It's a beautiful area. And super nice area in Italy. If you've never been to Breu Cervinia, it's super nice, very high. And the season already started, I think, a few weeks ago. Has anyone tried vibe coding? We're kind of in an industry where you can do vibe coding, and if something goes wrong, the worst you can do is destroy a database. It happened a few times. You saw it on Twitter. But luckily, it doesn't go way worse, because in other industry, if you vibe your industry, you might end up with a big lawsuit or in jail, because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the world's first vibe dentist. This is actually real news. But this year, 2025, is a bit of a special year. It's the 30th birthday of JavaScript. It's been a long ride, and I'm going to walk you through it shortly from Dino's blog. This is all taken from Dino's blog. Bit of milestones every couple of years since it started. And it all started back in 1995 when Brandon Eich creates the first version of JavaScript in 10 days, which is crazy. And then you will see why JavaScript was really a messed up language from the beginning, because just a year later, well, first you have Java in the name, which ends up really causing issues until this day. And then because Java was in the name and this was a trademark of maybe Sun, I think, Microsystems at that time, Microsoft was not allowed to ship JavaScript. They shipped JScript, which was different, similar but different. And from that moment, we had two different languages. And then a year later, Netscape submits JavaScript to ECMA International. They couldn't really call it JavaScript, again, because of the trademark, trying to standardize it. And then in 1999, Microsoft releases IE5 with even more proprietary technology, so they were diverging even more, unfortunately. 2003, Apple introduces Safari and WebKit. 2004 is when Gmail Beta is released with AJAX, asynchronous, I don't remember, asynchronous JavaScript and XML, actually, yeah. Was anyone developing back then? Okay, great. 2006, this is when John Resig created jQuery, because we had so many if conditions. If this is supported, do it like this, otherwise do it like that. Has anyone worked with jQuery? Yes, I'm sorry. It was nice times also. And 2007 is when we got the first iPhone, and it didn't have Flash support, which is was actually a big milestone for the web, because at that time, almost every website was made, or half of the websites were made with Flash. And then Steve Jobs did something very big, which is we're not going to support Flash on the iPhone. It's full of security vulnerabilities. And this was a big, big move for HTML5, for the web, for JavaScript. And then 2008, Google releases Chrome with just-in-time compilation. It was the fastest web browser at the time. I think JavaScript was 10 times faster than on other browsers, which really opened up the way for Node.js a year later. And then I honestly did not know this. 2012, Microsoft makes TypeScript 0.8 available for the public. This is more than 15 years ago. I didn't really, no, my math is wrong. 13 years ago. I didn't really know that TypeScript was such an old technology. 2013, we get the first version of React. I think I remember reading about JSX. Looked really weird. Writing kind of HTML, but not really in JavaScript. Yeah, it's also been 12 years ago. Then we got ECMAScript 6, ES25, 15. This was a really big moment for the web. We finally, after like failed ES4, we finally got new technology. We got new features with JavaScript, like classes, template strings, a lot of things. I remember spending a lot of time on babel.js.org or something /learn-ES2015. Does anyone know which page I'm referring to? It was on Babel. They had like a page explaining ES 2015 with all the new features. Then 2020, JavaScript makes it into space with SpaceX Dragon, and also web components were on board. So they've used JavaScript on board of SpaceX Dragon, which left the Earth. And 2022, Internet Explorer 11 is retired. It was a great year. We also got AI, by the way. 2023, can anyone guess what we got? We got AI. 2024, we got, we also got AI. And this is when the legal battle against Oracle to free JavaScript begins. Is anyone aware of this? So Dino is fighting Oracle. Well, Oracle bought Sun Microsystems and now they own the JavaScript trademark, but they don't do anything with JavaScript. They just own Java. And Dino is trying to fight that to release the trademark to make it just, like if you create a company and you have the word JavaScript in the company, you might be sued by Oracle. It's kind of doesn't make sense because Oracle doesn't really use JavaScript. 2025, But I think that the web has come a long way since it started and kind of showed you it had a pretty rough start. But I want to show you that it's really come a very long way, and we have a kind of state of abundance nowadays. And I'll show you this through three things: developer experience, user interface, and native capabilities. To start with developer experience, I'm going to show you some new features that I want to highlight. This is not everything. These are some of the highlights. And I will tag them with baseline. Does anyone know what baseline is? So this is a, has anyone used Can I Use before? You can think of it as an easier way instead of going to Can I Use and then you get a big graph, so many browser versions. Baseline is developed by Google, developed just like an idea from Google where you have three statuses. You have baseline widely available, and that means a certain feature is supported on all 4 major browsers. And you can safely use it in general because it's been supported for more than, I think, 16 months, a year and a half. I'm not exactly sure about, or 18 months. I'm not exactly sure about the number of months. And then you have baseline newly available, and that means a certain feature became supported recently on all of these 4 major browsers, but it hasn't been 18 months or 16 months. So that's why you get the year after it. This is baseline, newly available 2023. So you know when it became interoperable on all browsers. And then of course you have baseline limited availability. This is where I think we have all the interesting stuff because it just landed on one of those 4 browsers. And it doesn't have to be Chrome, it doesn't have to be Edge, it could also be Safari first, or it could be Firefox first. And there is a way for you to find this out if it's interesting for you. I'll show you in a minute, but you might be thinking, yeah, limited availability, I can't really use it. Well, let's explore this a little bit more. The main concept of progressive enhancement, you might still be able to use it, offer an amazing experience for the users who have that features, while offering a fallback or just offering, like, make sure your website doesn't break on the other browsers. And if you want to dive deep into this, this is deeper than baseline. There's a website called webstatus.dev. Yes, it's a website where you can get a list of more than 1,000 browser feature and see where it's supported and on every browser, and when it became supported. But this, for example, yeah, dialogue. You can search for dialogue here. And you get not only the dialogue element, but also the features that came later, like the backdrop and closed by. It's a relatively new feature that doesn't work on Safari, for example. But what's cool about this is that you can search. You can say, I want to look for the features that are available on Safari. And you get, yeah, a lot of features, of course. And then minus available on Chrome. I don't think you would use that every day, these kind of queries, but I think so. It's pretty cool, but it's also not working. Love live demos. Minus. Oh yeah, 14 features. Does that make sense? No. It's still searching for dialogue. This is a bug. Available on Safari minus available on Chrome. Yeah. And you can filter, see what's supported on Safari, what's supported on Firefox, not on Chrome, or vice versa. So in every feature, there's going to be a baseline at the bottom. For example, this one is baseline 2024 newly available. Whether you can use it or not depends on your user base. You can decide for yourself. The first function I want to talk about is light dark CSS function. Has anyone used this or heard about it? This is a helper function you can use in CSS to build a light theme and a dark theme in an easier way. So as long as you use the color scheme property, you'll be able to use the function light color and give it a light color and a dark, sorry, the light dark, and give it a light color and a dark color. And depending on the current color scheme, it's going to give you one value. If you're on a light theme, it will give you the first one. If you're on a dark theme, it gives you the dark value. It's a small quality of life improvement, but you can imagine for all the root.dark and stuff, they will become much shorter, easier to work with. Then we have CSS layers, and this is baseline widely available. Has anyone used it or knows about it? This is pretty cool. It allows you to define your own custom CSS layers. For example, if you have a very big website, you can say, I have 3 layers, and I'm defining them. We have the base, we have the components, and then we have the pages, the page. And they are in order. So the CSS from the base will be applied first. The CSS from the components will apply second. So if there's if there's specificity issues, everything from the components will override the base. And then the page will come after. So in general, when you use this, you kind of never have to use exclamation mark important anymore. So this works everywhere. It's baseline widely available. And there's many ways to use it. This is one example with at import. But you don't have to use at import. You can use at layer, write all of your code inside of it. Check it out. Pretty cool feature for big websites. And then we have container queries. Raise hands. Yeah, this was one of the most requested features, because before, if you had cards, we would only be able to make them responsive based on the viewport, but not on the container. And for example, let's say you want to make a universal card, you are like responsible. Let's say you're working at a company, big company, and you're making their UI kit, and you want to provide one card component that just works everywhere. Whether you use it in a small space, in a big space, for example, like this. I'm not resizing the browser, I'm resizing the container, and you can see how it adapts responsively. This was not possible before because the media queries depended on the viewport. But now we can write a media query that depends on the container. And that's why you can write this card, give it to someone, and if they use it in a narrow place, it's going to show you the narrow version. And the code for it is relatively simple. you have to define the container, and that's the card container. We use the container shorthand, we give it a name, and we give it a type. For example, inline size allows us to measure the inline, so the horizontal size of it. And then you write a container query, add container card, and then provide the max width, and then you will change the size to, for example, changing the flex direction. And there's even a shorter way to write this. Has anyone used CSS nesting? Yeah, I don't have slides about this, but you can put the add container code inside of .card container, and this will allow you to remove the card after add container. You don't really need to name it anymore because it knows this is an add container query for this particular container. Now, moving on to user interface. One of my favorite elements that I actually used a lot in production is the dialog element. Has anyone used it or knows about it? Yeah, this is a baked-in element, comes with accessibility, and has two modes. You can just have a dialog that just opens, and you have the modal mode, which opens on top of everything. It opens in the top layer. The top layer of the browser is a layer that really opens on top of everything, and this makes it ideal for if you have a user interface and you have a button so nested in your HTML, but when you click on it, you need to make a dialog that opens on top of everything. You have no longer z-index issues because the biggest z-index you can provide is here, and the top layer is actually even on top of it. You just find the dialog, you call show modal, it opens in modal mode. You get a backdrop, which you can customize, like the part that is grayed out, you can make it blur, you can change the color, or everything. And this also comes with baked-in accessibility. It traps the focus, and really a great element, baseline, widely available. It has some features that are not supported on all browsers, but in general, it works everywhere. So for example, when this became widely available, I dropped 40 kilobytes of JavaScript and 10 kilobytes of CSS from material design components, I think, because they had their own custom implementation, and then you have 1 kilobyte of code for a dialog that just works everywhere. Then we have the has selector. Show of hands. Yeah, I'm actually barely using this. It's such a cool selector, and we always wanted to have it, but once it's there, you kind of, it's there. I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but there's a lot of possibilities with it. It's parent level styling based on child or sibling content. So for example, you can select the child based on how its parent, what kind of classes it has. Sorry, you can, sure. So for example, the most common use case I use is body has dialog square brackets open, and then you disable the scroll bar. This allows you to disable the body scroll bar when any dialog is open in modal mode, just automatically with this line of code. Because a dialog, if you open it in modal mode, you'll get an open attribute, that's dialog open. And body has means we are selecting the body, but only when one of its elements inside has a dialog that's open. It's a very nice code snippet. And this is very new. Now we're getting into the limited availability part. Scroll state, has anyone heard of it? Yeah, nice. This is very, very new. It only works on Chrome at the moment, so you can only use it as progressive enhancement. But the syntax doesn't break. CSS is made in a way that if feature doesn't work on another browser, this feature doesn't work, but the rest will not be affected. So yeah, we can now, for example, know, with position sticky, we were never able to know if it's actually stuck, but now you can do it with scroll state stuck to the top. You need a bit more CSS than that I'm not showing here. You also have snapped for scroll snap, and you also have scrollable if it's actually scrollable, has scrolled, or reached the end of the scroll, I think, and these kind of things. Then we have customizable select. This recently landed in Chrome. Does anyone know about it? This is something you can use in production. I'm planning on using it soon in production because I'll show you now. It's really just a select in terms of HTML. So all other, it's made in a progressive enhancement way. So all other browsers will still show a normal select. Only browsers that support it will allow you to show a custom select element with HTML in it. It's really amazing. Look, this is a select element, and we have a button, and then we have the options, and in the options you can now write HTML. But for it to work, you need to have this kind of code. And of course it's accessible, so I press tab, space, move around, choose Bitcoin. And yeah, this is the selected content here. Everything's customizable. And if you open this on Safari, for example, you will just get a select box. So there's no harm in using this now. Hopefully, this is not announced, but hopefully it will be part of Interop 2026, which means all browsers will commit to making it work. So then maybe next year, someone will be standing on the stage telling you, hey, this works everywhere, you can just use it. We also have native carousels. This was a bit unexpected, but it was announced recently, and I'm already using it on my personal website. Because it's built on ScrollSnap. Does anyone know about ScrollSnap? And if it doesn't work, you're just getting a scroll bar with ScrollSnap. That's my personal website, for example. And here you have, this is a ScrollSnap, but you also get from the browser now these arrow functions. And you can also get the dots. I will show you the dots in here. For example, cards. Yeah, these dots, they are generated automatically in CSS, and you can style them however you want. This is all completely CSS. It's not about like avoiding JavaScript, it's about having something optimized, having something accessible that works. And there are really cool stuff that you can do with it. Gonna cycle quickly the list. App switcher. All of this is completely just CSS. And to show you quickly, we can go to the configurator. This is the code, just a carousel with a couple of divs. And you can add dot navigations. And this is the code to style them. Scroll marker group, and then scroll marker target current. This is the one that's currently active. If this syntax is new to you, this is CSS nesting, which is like Sass, I think. This is, of course, limited availability, but again, on other browsers, you'll still get a carousel without the arrow buttons. So you can either decide to drop them or implement them yourself when they don't, when they're not supported. Then we have scroll-driven animations. Who knows about it? So we can now animate properties based on scroll-based timeline. And this is happening efficiently without scroll events, without hacky code. Bramus van Damme from Belgium has a lot of examples. For example, at the top, you can have a reading progress indicator, and it doesn't affect the scrolling performance because it's a native feature that's relatively easy to use. You define the scroll timeline, and here on the HTML, on the root scroller, you call it wherever you want, and you provide the direction, block, not inline. And then you define an animation that goes from scale 0 to scale 1, and the animation name and the animation timeline, you link them together, and that's it. You can also run it in JavaScript, and it will still run off the main thread. It will still be optimized. Another more advanced example is this one. Full height cover card to fix header, this kind of thing. And you can see how smooth it is, I think, also on the projector, yeah. And the code for it is slightly more complicated, but this is the keyframes animation. And then we define the range from 0 VH to 90 VH. And the animation timeline here is just a scroll. It's not linked to another one. This is, again, limited availability, but in general, you can just ship it on the browsers that support it. This is super new. This landed, I think, 2.5 weeks ago. I added it 2 weeks ago to the slides. Do you know scroll spy? Like when you scroll to a certain, you scroll in documentation and you see it's updating the location automatically. For example, we have a code pen here from Una. This one. Look at the left. Yes, the left. And you see this is automatically scrolling with you. We used to do that with JavaScript, hijacking the scroll event, doing complex computations. This is now 2 lines of code, but it only works on the latest 2 Chromes. It's just scroll target group auto, and then find the link, which is target current, and then give it color. For example, hot pink. And you will see it's probably not accessible, but you will see the one that is, yeah. This is all you need. There's no JavaScript in it, and the rest of the CSS is just for the demo. Now let's talk more about native capabilities. I covered a lot of CSS. Now we're going to talk more about native capabilities. View transitions. I actually did not know that I gave a talk to GDG Venezia last year about view transitions. Was anyone at the talk there? Yeah, nice. It was an online talk. View transitions allow you to efficiently create animated transitions between 2 different states. Think of it page 1 to page 2 in a single page app. Before, it used to be a nightmare because you needed to have duplicate DOM to be able to do the animation, which was horrible for accessibility, horrible for performance. For accessibility, because you would have an H1 of the old page and an H1 of the new page, which doesn't make sense. For performance, because you have 2 pages, you're animating massive stuff. Instead, what you can do now with view transitions, I'll show you a demo first. This is a single page app, and if I click here, notice how it's going to zoom in to the other page. And it's very performant because it's geniusly designed. When I click here, what it's going to do, it's going to take a screenshot. It's going to take a screenshot of the old page, and then, or a section of the page, depending on how you define it. And then it's going to show you, it allows you to run some JavaScript code, which will modify the DOM to the end state. But the user doesn't see that because the screenshot is placed on top of it. So you have the old screenshot and the new DOM state, and then with CSS animations, you animate the old screenshot to the new DOM state, and that's how you get this. And it sounds like a lot of magic, but it's all in the browser here. Take a look. We have view transition. I'm gonna open the animations tab. To debug it, I will slow it down to 10%. Do you see that? It's so cool because you can not only debug it, you can customize it. I'll pause here, and you have the view transitions pseudo elements. I'll not get into too much details, but find me if you want. We can talk about it. And I'll click play because next time I do the demo, I don't wanna be surprised why it's not working. The code for it is relatively simple if you understand how it works. You probably also want to use view transition name, because the browser also allows you to take specific screenshots of specific items. It works for single page apps in Chrome and Safari, and Firefox committed to making it work this year as part of Interop 2025, but they're not there yet. So by the end of the year, we all think it's going to be supported on all browsers. But this is something I've been using in production for more than a year, with just progressive enhancement. Then we have document picture-in-picture APIs. Anyone heard of this? Yeah. The hands are getting less and less, which means it's a pretty good thing. This is an API that only works on Chrome and Edge at the moment, but it allows you to open an always-on-top floating window, and you can display any HTML you want in it. And you might be thinking, why would I ever need that? There's quite a lot of use cases. In the Netherlands, there's a guy running a company where he has booking software for coppers, for people who cut hair, barbers. And what he does, it's built on the web. What he does is he uses this API to show the barber the admin panel, but using the document picture-in-picture API, he has another screen where he shows the customer the items for the bill before they pay. So this is now possible on the web. And he can use it because he can control which browsers the barbers are using. This is not, of course, for for any website, but I'm also using it for more than a year, I think. I've wrote an article about it on developer.chrome. This is from one of my courses. I have a browser preview tab for the code and the instructions, but I got a lot of feedback from my students that I want to always see the browser, and many of my students are developers, so they have an extra screen laying around. So what you can do with the document picture-in-picture API, we check if it's supported, and we request window. We open a new window, and this allows us to have this. I'm gonna repeat it. When I click on enter picture-in-picture mode, we have a new floating dialog that I can move to the second screen, or I can put on top of everything. It really allows me to customize whatever I want. And now I have the browser tab always open on top. And of course, this doesn't work on other browsers, but you can really benefit, have a good experience for all other users. Yes?
Sorry to interrupt you. The state of the page is shared, so not completely separated.
You have to maintain the HTML for it. It's not a clone. It's not a clone of an element. It's just a separate, it's like window.open on steroids, but you have to really manage the HTML of it. Yeah. And in my use case, it's the same, but many other use cases tell you you have picture-in-picture enabled, so they don't show you anything there. So it's up to you. You can offer both experiences. And for browsers that don't support this, you can have what I opted is just a minimize, maximize, which is not the same, I know, but then at least the experience doesn't fail for other browsers. Then there's speculation rules API. Who's worked with it? Who knows about it? Now we're getting into instant loading, which was something never possible before. But with the speculation rules API, which you can use like this is the simplest code. You can tell the browser, I think the user is going to go to app.html. Please pre-render it. And the browser will actually load this page in the background. So when the user clicks on it, it's instant loading. Please believe me on it. I'll skip the live code just to save some time. I'm using this on production, but it really, the browser will pre-load it. And when you click on app.html, it just goes instantly to it. And you can do a lot more things. You can preload multiple pages. You can tell the browser when to preload. This is the most basic example. But this really shows the power of the web. We can do instant loading. Send someone a link. First time, it might take a little bit longer, but you don't have to go to an app store. You don't have to install something. And then from there, if you do things properly, you can offer an instant experience until the rest of their experience on your website. Then we have File System Access API. This is quite specific. And I'll show you quickly a live demo by Mehmet. I can pick a text file from my desktop, and I have ciao a tutti. It says, I hope this works. It works. No permission, because you specifically chose a file to read. But I'll say, yes, it worked. Save changes. And the browser will ask, do you want to allow this website to write to this file? And you can save changes. And now if I go to ciao a tutti, it's written, yes, it worked. If I say number 2, save changes, you don't need permissions anymore for this file because you already gave them. And this also, depends on your use case, but you can use it if you are, for example, building something with text editors, or you want to allow the user to download, save something on their computer. And then we now have a web push on all browsers, on all operating systems. But with an asterisk, on iOS, you need to install the app to the home screen, and which I think makes sense because you don't want any website to receive push notifications. And so yeah, we have web push. This is something we wanted for a very long time, and now we have it everywhere. So what does this all mean? In my opinion, I think we are beyond the inflection point. We went from scarcity, we went from problems with the name of JavaScript, from 2 different versions of JavaScript, to now what I think is abundance. There's too many features almost, and you don't necessarily want to learn all of them. You just want to know what's possible. So I think we are no longer constrained by the web. It just has so much And that's why I think it has unprecedented power in reaching the users of today and tomorrow. And I'll show you some examples on that. I have a pair of AR glasses. I also have them with me if someone wants to try them. They're called X Real. They're not so popular in Europe, I think, but they're super cool. Just AR glasses, no camera, plug into your computer, and you have a monitor, even an ultra wide monitor, which for me is pretty cool. In the airplane, you can just close your laptop and work. It looks weird. Or in cases where I cannot really take my monitor with me if I'm traveling. And they leaned on the web, into the web, or onto, because for over-the-air updates, to update the software, they did not develop an app. They just asked you to use Chrome, plug your AR glasses in the browser, and then you connect, and they update the software using the browser. It's super cool. And yeah, updating firmware. And this is, I did that 2 days ago, I think. Just connect the glasses to the laptop, and it works. And this saves so much money. This saves, it allows them to move faster, and it just works. I have updated my firmware 3 times like this. Now, what does this inflection point mean in the age of AI? Well, I think it has become easier than ever to build a website or web app. You know that, with vibe coding and everything. So we must work harder on the unique value proposition. And I think you can find those unique value propositions if you're working on the bleeding edge, if you're working with these new APIs, offering something useful for your users. There's a lot of wide variety of use cases that I think are still unexplored if you look at these APIs. And I know they're not supported on all browsers, but you can still really benefit from them. You can tell users why you kind of not getting the ultimate experience or something. And again, some of these features only work on Safari, some of them only on Firefox. The majority only works on Chrome. So this is not an invitation to do Chrome-only things, but you can really benefit from these APIs. And in the age of AI, and especially for students, I think you know that syntax has become less important. So what I think is important is to be educated on what's possible on the web and not memorize things. I personally have to memorize because I'm in education, but just know what's possible, come back to it, and read the docs because most AIs don't really have the latest knowledge on these. And of course, wide knowledge is still important. So performance, user experience, accessibility, not just JavaScript or not just the web. Then we have progressive web apps, or which are now called web apps. And I think they have succeeded because they work on all browsers. Safari allows you to have web apps on desktop, on iOS. They can receive push notifications. But I also want to say that we are in an ecosystem where no single platform has won. Because the talk was before, will Android iOS destroy the web, or will web destroy Android iOS? But it's not like that. There are use cases where the web has really a lot of power, and there are use cases where the web just plain sucks, honestly. Like, don't ever expect that the web will have the first feature that lands on an operating system. It's always lagging behind. But the web still has the power to be one click away, one link, that thing that you send to your friend or someone that finds on Google or ChatGPT or Gemini. I think if you're looking at analytics, you see a lot of users coming from AI software. It's still there. It's still the link. Click, you're there. And Android had something called Instant Apps. Does anyone know about it, Instant Apps? It actually died last month. Quite a nice surprise for my talk. Because I think Instant Apps was the only way where Android had that thing where you click on something and you have the experience. But this is only still on the web. And I rely on this. I've been showing this screencast for 5 years. So I give a course, I told you, and I want them to try the flashcards. They get flashcards with it. With one click away, they're automatically logged into the flashcards progressive web app. And they give it a try. They click on practice flashcards, and they get questions related to what they've learned. And you're getting an experience of what the PWA is or what the web app is. And here, I tell them add to home screen. And with one click of a button on Android, they even get screenshots of the PWA. And then they click add, and then it's on desktop. On iOS, it's not that ideal. When they click on add to home screen, I tell them click on share, add to home screen, and there are no screenshots. but you can still lean on these things and offer an amazing experience. This has been working really well for me because, again, of the web. So what's next? I think I have 2 more minutes. Yes. So there was a live code that I'm going to skip. But what's next? There's all other features like popover, anchor, positioning, interest target. We have scoped styles. I'm waiting for Firefox to support them. We have if conditions in CSS. Has anyone heard about it? Yeah, you don't have to use it, but it's pretty cool. There are some videos on it on my YouTube channel. We have typed ATTR. You can read an attribute from CSS. So like data attribute converted to a number, converted to a unit, almost like TypeScript in CSS. But these are all very new to talk about. There's also the open web advocacy, which is just a quick question. Who has an iPhone? Who's using a browser other than Safari on their iPhone? Yeah, you know, it's still Safari. Even if you're using Chrome, it's still using WebKit. There's no freedom of browser choice. So they are fighting for that to ignite competition again on iOS. And it's working because once this started, Safari started catching up and pushed push notifications. So even if we never get true browser freedom, it actually kickstarted Safari to be competitive again. And then there's Web AI. I'm getting kicked out of the stage. Web AI is, this is Chrome only at the moment, not even Edge. But you can now use, it's on Edge as of yesterday maybe. Last week, okay, thanks. So you can use AI in a browser. You need to download a model to make, for example, translations, language detection, summarization, and, for example, proofreading. I'll show you quickly a demo. No, it will take time. But the syntax for it, once you set it up, it will be something like await en2it.translate, hello world. This will not work because I don't have the variable. And it's going to use a model that you've downloaded to make a translation using AI. And this is very useful for, again, maybe you have an admin, you can control who's using it. And yeah. Questions, please find me in the hall. And in summary, the web continues evolving beyond a collection of pages into a platform for rich app-like experiences if you lean into that part. And the fundamental limitations of the web will, I think, unfortunately, stay there. But the fundamental benefits, the link, click away, are still undefeated 30 years later. Thanks so much. You can find the slides online. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.